Anyway, let's usher in Dr. Kwame Asah Asante. He's a political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies. But maybe today we are throwing the challenge to all our guests and to you out there. Can you count, let's say, from 0 to 10 in your local language?
That's easy. Let's make it 20. 1 to 10 is...
In your local language?
Yeah. Let's make it 20. 0 to 20.
Do you know how many people...
Yeah.
Dr. Kwame Asah Asante, good morning.
Good morning, Ben, and good morning, my sister.
Good morning, Doc. It's good to see you.
Yes, but I want to tell you that I can count from 0.
I didn't want to put you on that spot. Doc, do you want to put us to the, put us to the sword, put us to shame? Do you want to do something for us this morning?
I'm sure he can go to 50 with no problem.
Oh, no problem at all.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yes.
That's
well
great.
done. That's
right. I've given you 10.
Please, he's deserving of a round of applause. Anyway. Congratulations, Doc. Someone may say, but this is nothing. But you try some people out there, you realize that at least it means something. Anyway, as always, we're going to give you, before Sweetie Aboti gets into the papers, there are so many issues. I don't know which one you want to talk about, but over to you, Doc, in a minute and a half, and we come back into the studio.
Thank you for the opportunity once again. I want to talk about the EC and the apologies they've rendered relative to the figures they churn out and the graph and all there is to that issue. In free and fair elections, there are indices for measuring that. And part of it is what balloting, monitoring, and resource. That if you want to ensure free and fair election, you need to safeguard the way the balloting is done, the monitoring is done, and then the way you declare results. And tied to it is that you need to have a system that you are able to have all the ballot cast arranged properly, and then later you declare results reflecting on what people have expressed themselves in the area of voting. If there is an anomaly, you have created chaos. EC has churned out figures and then came back to say, look, we're sorry, it should have been this or that. This is not the first time we are seeing such a thing. You recall the last election, the EC gave out some figures only to turn around to amend them, or if you like, write a rejoinder to them. We are not interested in that, because as an election management body, they have to get it right at all times. No excuses. We don't want to accept that, because anything short of this will always compromise the election and create problems for people. Remember, the vote cast is nothing but the will of the expression of the people, what they want the world to see as how they have expressed themselves is what we see as the vote cast. So we want the EC to get the basis right. The apology, we are sorry. Sorry doesn't fix any problem. If there is a problem, fix it so that you don't say sorry. They will tell you that, it's one of, problems of humanity and all that. Human beings, we are fallible, we can make mistakes. Look, even the mistake is one is bad enough to destroy the integrity of the election and to create problems for us. EC, please, we want you to get the basics right so that you don't apologize to us. The apology doesn't fix the problem. Fix the problem so that you don't apologize to us. That is what we want.
All right.
Anything short of it, is going to compromise the election, and you must rise above this and make sure that the election that we are going to have, we are not going to experience, mistakes that come from you, and we don't want a repeat of that. If you are short of people who can help you to do this in your office, please extend that hand to others who have the expertise. There are statisticians around. Get them together and then let them help you before you churn out the figure, and it should be final. Okay. The rejoinders and apologies are too many, and we don't want that. Simply put.
The rejoinders and the apologies are too much and they don't fix the problems. Points well made. Let's get into the newspapers now. Starting with a daily graphic. On the front page, Kayaye Empowerment Program launched. 5,000 female headporters targeted, 2 hostel facilities inaugurated. Waive taxes on public health commodities and medicines, the NACP is saying. Invested petroleum funds appreciate to $1.24 billion, PAYAC reports. Let's start with a story on Kayaye Empowerment Program. And it reads, an initiative dedicated to empower 5,000 female headporters and offer transitional job pathways to enhance their socio-economic status has been launched in Accra. Known as the Kayaye Empowerment Program, it has an overarching goal to empower the female headporters, popularly known as Kayaye, across the country through the transformative power of technical vocational training and education. The multifaceted program will use a rigorous recruitment process to select the initial cohort of 5,000 headporters for a transformative 3-week learning program. That's a step in the right direction, I must say, but I want to do 3 more stories and then we can come for your reactions, Doc. Hundreds of hostages rescued from Boko Haram extremists. That story is on page 5 of the Daily Graphic. Hundreds of hostages, mostly children and women, who were held captive for months or years by Boko Haram extremists in the northeastern Nigeria, have been rescued from a forest enclave and handed over to authorities, the army has said. The 350 hostages had been held in the Sambisa forest, a hideout for the extremist group, which launched an insurgency in 2009, a senior Nigerian army officer, Major General Ken Chigbu, said late Monday while presenting them to authorities in Borno, where the forest is. It's good to know that after 10 years or so, there's still work ongoing to rescue some of these girls. Now, on page 13 of the Daily Graphic, waive taxes on public health commodities, medicines, that is according to NACP. The National AIDS and STI Control Program has called for exceptional tax waivers on all health commodities and medicines provided by development partners for public health intervention. That, it said, was to enable the country to eliminate and achieve epidemic control for the conditions for which those medicines and commodities have been targeted. Then NACP enumerated the commodities, which included medicines for HIV, malaria, tuberculosis, and all diseases that had been targeted by the country for programmatic intervention. The manager, Dr. Stephen Aisiedu, who made the call in an interview, explained that taxes on health commodities and medications for programmatic interventions in the country caused delays in clearing them from the ports and reduced their shelf life by the time they were cleared. We know that story from about 2 months ago when Global Funds had released some medicines to be disbursed, but was held up at the ports for almost a year. Or more than a year. Invested petroleum funds appreciate, still on page 13 of the Daily Graphic. Invested funds under the country's upstream petroleum sector increased to $1.24 billion last year from $1.06 billion in 2022. This was the result of a 13.96% increment in the Ghana Heritage Fund, an investment stream for future generations, while the Ghana Stabilization Fund went up by 32.52% despite withdrawals. The combined effect of the GPFs was a 16.47% increase last year over the previous year. Now, the chairperson of PAYAC, Emerita Professor Elizabeth Adafio Shandoff, presenting the findings of the report, explained that the $1.24 billion total reserves at the end of the 2023 was made up of $1.05 billion in the GHF and $190.938 million in the GSF, compared with their corresponding figures in 2022. Doc, these quick stories for your reactions before we proceed.
Yeah, I think I'll start with the Kayaye empowerment. It's a good thing, as you rightly said. We need to empower them, but we need a program that is sustainable. We want to put in measures that will deal with this problem head on, so that in the first place, we don't have them on the street to carry loads around and all that. They also need dignified jobs and then better training so that they can take care of their lives, right? So that is what I think the state must work towards, so that we work towards not only empower them, but get them off the streets and give them what decent means of what livelihoods. I think that is the way to go. I know the state has done a bit. Communities are also supporting, but we still have the problem on our hands. So there must be every effort to be able to quicken the process and get to the finish line by getting them off the street and giving them better lives.
Doc, wouldn't that be a way of encouraging more, migration to the south? Accra is already so congested, and so these people come down here to see greener pastures.
That's why I'm saying that we should deal with the problem head on.
Right.
By getting them out. Once you don't have any, they will not serve as role models for anybody. And that means that where they come from, you need to fix the problem there. So you get the basis right. By what? Tackling the problem head on, and then you don't have them here. The issue of Boko Haram and the way they are going about with the activities and all that is very worrying to the people of Nigeria and then the sub-region. You recall the incident of the Chibok girls and all that.
Yeah.
And they kept them in the forest only to return them. Some were already mothers and the rest of them. The health condition and all that. I believe the Nigerian government is doing a bit, but they need to put in more effort to get these miscreants out of the system and create a society that everybody will be free to move about. Can you imagine you send your child to school only to realize that somebody had abducted your child, and then how do you sleep that day? It's a worrying situation. Abductions and kidnappings and all that are going on in Nigeria, and I think that the government must be able to put its foot down and address this situation at home. The issue of waiving of taxes on health products, I think it's a good call, and it's a call well in order. We have seen instances where, or heard stories where there is the need to clear goods from the harbor health products, and because of taxation, they get rot there and all that. If the state has found it necessary to waive all the tax, I think it's better. Because if you cannot supply your people with medicines, and people are helping you, why do you want to impose tax so as to delay the process and even eventually destroy the products and all that? It doesn't help anybody. Otherwise, people who donate to us will feel tired, and at a point in time will not have that support. We need this support all the time. So we need to create the enabling environment for these things to flow easily.
All right. There are more stories in the Daily Graphic. You should pick one for yourself. On sports, African Games medalist coaches receive bonuses. Kwei Lai vowed to break Ghana's world title drought, etc. Now, in the New Finder newspaper, on the front page, NHIA, NIA to issue Ghana cards to 6.3 million children. Kaya Skills Training Centers commissioned. That's the story we just got into. Interest rates hit 30 to 47% on loans for businesses, Bank of Ghana report. And oil production drops by 23 million meter barrels in 4 years. Let's get into that paper now and do the story about NHIA and NIA to issue Ghana cards to 6.3 million children. And that story is on page 9. I'll do that quickly, and then Benjamin will take over. The National Health Insurance Authority and the National Identification Authority, the landmark collaboration, have signed an agreement to register and issue Ghana cards to 6.3 million children across Ghana. This initiative targets children aged 6 to 14 years and is set to begin on June 10, 2024. The NHIA and NIA have called on parents and guardians to ensure their children are registered to obtain the Ghana card, which will facilitate access to healthcare and serve as official identification. There you have it. I just wanted to do that because of some of the issues coming up from the limited voter registration exercise and the guarantor system causing most of the problems, because the issue of someone bringing in 10 and more than 10 people, someone bringing in minors because they don't have Ghana cards. If everyone had Ghana cards, I'm sure that most of these problems will be fixed. But your thoughts, Doc?
Yes, the guarantor system, we have said it time and again, that it's not a foolproof system, and I'm not sure any system is foolproof. there are lingering challenges. But what we are saying that given the circumstances, we believe that that is a way out and it can help. If we identify problems somewhere along the line, we need to fix the problem. Right? The Ghana card, right, it's, for me, is the perfect one that can really help us. But even there, you realize that how do you even get in there? Sometimes this guarantor system also is part of the process that lead you to Ghana card. So, but the good news about Ghana card is that once you have a card which serves that multi-purpose role, it helps everybody. Jurisdictions such as Denmark and all that, they have one card. Once a child is born, you are registered, and when you turn 18, the system will automatically identify you as a registered voter, and then you move on. I think that is where we must work toward. And then we support the effort of the National Card Authority to be able to issue more cards to people on time and all that. There are problems also there. Professor Atefa has done his bit. He has done so well to bring us this far. We need to support him, support that office, so that we get all the bottlenecks cleared, and then the next election or two, we can make use of the Ghana card and all that. If everybody can have access to, Ghana card, I'm not sure the guarantor system will exist anymore.
Right.
But as you don't have them, or majority of the people do not have, then it is incumbent upon us to be able to get a card that will bring everybody in. And that is the essence of free and fair election.
All right. Thank you for that, Benjamin Akakbo.
Let me get into some other papers very quickly. The Ghanaian Publisher is where I'm starting. APSL drags Ghana to international arbitration, demands $3.6 billion in damages. Baumia fulfills KIA promise, applauds Natoshi for support. And we've already spoken about the KIA situation. Some would say, hey, Natoshi, is that an indication that anything is going to happen? And then majority refutes minorities' unfounded allegations, and Nkranza South MPP warns NDC MP over attacks. But let me quickly look at some of these stories. Doc, I'm going to go very quickly through about 5 stories, so I would crave your indulgence. Just follow with me so that when I'm done, you can send through your reactions. APSL drags Ghana to international arbitration. Now, Ashanti Port Services Limited has dragged the Ministry of Transport, represented by the Ghana Shippers Authority, to the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law for arbitration over a concession agreement on the development of the Buankra Integrated Logistics Terminal project. That is the BUILT project. The agreement on a build, operate, and transfer basis was unilaterally terminated by the ministry for alleged failures to achieve financial closure within the cure period, among other breaches. Now, per the story, according to APSL, the termination has led to the unlawful takeover of the BUILT project by the ministry, and thus preventing it from executing its role as a concessionaire. And that is where that has led to. Whether it's going to be another case of a judgment debt remains to be seen. But these 2 stories, SNIT responds to Ablakwe's comments on sale of hotels, and I'll deal with corrupt appointees in my next government, President Mahama. There's a linkage, a nexus I want to draw. So the management of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust has responded to comments by Mr. Samuel Kudjetu Ablakwa, National Democratic Congress, Member of Parliament for North Tongue, on the sale of its hotels. SNIT, in a statement copied to the Ghana News Agency, said the attention of its management had been drawn to this bit, but then the statement said the trust sought to partner a strategic investor to raise capital to invest in the hotels and assist in their management. It said the primary objective of finding a strategic investor was to increase efficiency, profitability, shareholder value, and the long-term sustainability of the SNIT pension scheme. We saw that report recently from the ILO. I've seen Franklin Kujo of Imani Africa also say that he supports the reorientation, if you like, re-strategization of SNIT. But how does this sit with the rest of us, especially looking at where this is headed? I've listened to Nana Akomia, for example, talk about the fact that some former MPs in the NDC regime also sold some SNIT properties to themselves. He mentions that in Cape Coast, the SNIT Hotel in Cape Coast is owned by the minority owner, is a high-ranking NDC member, that the catering rest house in Sunyani was also bought by a high-ranking NDC member, that some others were also owned by NDC aficionados. So you ask yourself, all right, so yes, noise being made about it. In other jurisdictions, this may not happen, but is the NDC necessarily a saint in this matter? Which is why I link it to this story, which is why I'll pause later. I'll do 2 more stories. I'll deal with corrupt appointees in my next government, Mahama says so. So former President John Dramani Mahama, flag bearer of the NDC, has pledged to lead a new charge in the fight against corruption if re-elected as president. The new approach, he said, involved holding not only, quote, corrupt officials under the previous administration accountable, but also appointees of his next administration who indulged in corrupt activities. But Mr. Former President, how about those from the past in your administration who may be found, like some of these, if they tend to be shady? Your party is railing against these SNIT developments. How about the people within your party who have done these things in the past, maybe not through the right mechanisms? What's your answer to that? Some of my thoughts. Doc, any reflections on this before
yes.
I just...
I think the 2 are very important stories. The issue of the SNIT. I have a number of questions for the discerning minds. I want to find out. 1, I know, I'm not a lawyer, but I know that when you are dealing with conflict of interest situation, you need to declare your interest, if there is any, and that if there is a board or a body that is looking at that interest will know where you are coming from. Was that interest declared to the board that oversaw the whole process? Did we have value for money? Are the facilities that they are selling, are they facility that ought to be sold, or it's just that somebody is pushing it to be sold, that the person goes to buy and all that? These are questions I think I need answers to if I really want to do justice to that. Otherwise, it becomes so difficult, because sometimes you realize that all these things are met, and then people begin to accuse whoever is buying that, hey, it's not the best way and all that. Sometimes too, all these things, there are breaches, and that affect or undermine the whole process. So I want to be clear on this before I stick my neck out, because as at now, I'm not seized with all the details, the information on that, so I'll not be able to touch on effectively. Come to look at the issue of corruption and what Mr. Mahama is promising to do. It's good to promise, but as to whether he'll be able to have the political will to deal with it is another. Because I've seen it in this republic that the issue of corruption, more often than not, is just a talk show. Politicians don't have what it takes to deal with that, especially dealing with their own. It becomes a problem. But if Mr. Mahama wants to give us a promise on that, first of all, there are questions that are posed to him. I want to find out his way of dealing with this problem. What is that? Does he have a new strategy he needs to share with us so that we can interrogate the issues and realize if we see that it is fit for purpose, why not? We want to find out how sustainable is that going to be. He needs to convince us beyond reasonable doubt, because we heard a lot about OSP and all that. And looking at recent development we are having, it gives us an impression that the state itself is not happy to have such institution in the first place to fight corruption. So it's all about talk show. I really want to see real action. And this time around, I have said, and I'll repeat here, that we want the conversation to be taken to another level, where whatever you promise, give us the details, how you are going to work that thing out, your strategy and all that. And if we find it fit, why not?
I'll just wrap with these stories. Headlines I'll give you. On page 6 of the Ghanaian publisher, Ghana nears IMF board approval for $360 million third tranche. Then there's ECOWAS must be decisive in dealing with terrorism in Sahel region. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. But whenever I see things like this, we must be decisive in dealing with terrorism, I ask, how decisive have we been in dealing with heads of state wanting to stay in power unconstitutionally, tweaking constitutions and all of that? How decisive have we been with that? Because once those things are happening, terrorism will also happen, Mr. President. Daily Guide, we've done most of the stories. I guess the only one I'd like to take a look at is majority fires minority over recruitment claims. And I'm sure you followed that story. The recruitments, purported recruitments into the Ghana Police Service, the fire service, among others. They have been debunked. Some have said that these are backlogs from previous years and all of that. But we do know that politicians in and politicians out do have people they get into these services, and that these people feel beholden to them and sometimes act in certain ways because these are party people, whether NDC or NPP. Your quick reaction to that, that's my final bit to you.
Right. I will start with the issue of terrorism. The president saying that we need to take decisive action on that. It's good to do that, but you have said it right. How decisive are we? All right. We have looked on as a body, I'm talking about ECOWAS, while bad governance take place here. Issue of human rights abuse, poor management of economies, and the rest of them. And we say nothing to leaders, and it gets worse, and people take undue advantage of the system. Very unfortunate. And issue of third-term agenda, where we use the legislature to change, as it were, the laws of the state about tenure of office and all that. This thing has gone on, and leaders have turned blind eye to this. And these are all the things that really work in the minds of soldiers who want to topple regime and all that. I am a student of democracy, and I want to remain as such. That yes, it doesn't matter how bad the government will be. The only way to get the government out is through the ballot box. So if we want to prevent terrorism and all that, we need to strengthen the frontiers of democracy and make sure that it becomes the only game in town. That's the only way out. Other than that, we are just working in vain. The issue of recruitment into the security services, once a while, this issue comes up and it becomes a problem. I remember my late MP, Mr. Kwelabi, took it against the NDC government about that. The issue since then has reoccurred and continued to occur and all that. We need to fix this problem. Let's have the institutions have their own right appointment authorities. Let's use them and make sure that the army that or the security forces we have reflect those who have really applied, and it doesn't matter where they come from in terms of ethnic groups and all that, provided they have they met all the standards and that are used for the job. Why not? But when we want to use ethnicity, want to use party politics as a way of getting them into the services, then it becomes a problem. It undermines what meritocracy, which is the basis for public sector appointment. Then the issue of Ghana getting close to be able to receive the $360 million from the IMF. Yes, it's a good thing. It will show up our reserves here or financial base and make it possible for us to run the affairs of the state well. But hey, the question is that if we had put our house in order very well, we will not need IMF support. Face corruption and you will not go to IMF. That is a message to the government.
All righty. Well, that is how we're going to have to sew it up. I'm getting some people reacting to the 0 to 10 thing, not on the live stream, but some people being like, now you Ben Power, what are you trying to do to us this morning?
But
I told you. Shebi, I told you.
She gets. But I have some birthday messages that I really want to get into. One coming from my own producer, Kingsley, and I will get that right now. Right. Happy birthday to Menaye Sapoma Aqua of Daystar Montessori School from Millennium City Estate. You are 6 years old today, from your parents, Fifi and Joyce Aqua. They say they wish you well. Happy birthday, darling. And another happy birthday coming from Abna Opoku Arinier of Adum TV. He says, happy birthday to Hajia Fauzia Karim. I pray that the good Lord enlarge your territories and grant you long life with good health. You're so kind, down to earth, and a caring being. I love you so much, from Abna Opokua Arinier. That's a lovely message. Happy birthday. Any birthday messages from your end?
I guess you've done them all. If any
okay.
others
All right.
come through,
Yeah.
I would look at them as well. But before...